Hello everybody, my name is Colin3639, welcome back to another video. Today in this one it's going to be another Why It Got Banned video, and in this one it's going to be why Heavymetalfoes Electrumite is banned and if it can come off the ban list. Today, yeah, it seems like most of the community, maybe not most of the community, but like half the community wants Electrumite to be off the ban list and put to one. So why is it in there in the first place? And that's what we're going to be covering today. So in this video, we'll be covering the effect of Heavymetalfoes Electrumite, the combo with Electrumite and the pendulums that will go with it, the history of Heavymetalfoes Electrumite, and then we'll be going why it got banned, and then if it can come off the ban list. So we got a lot to cover in this episode. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So before we can cover why Electrumite got banned, we must cover the effect of Electrumite. So this requires two pendulum monsters to go into since it is a link monster. It's a fire psychic monster with 1800 attack. And in effect reads, if this card is link summoned, you can add one pendulum monster from your deck to your extra deck face up. And then once per turn, you can target one other face up card you control, destroy it, then add one face up pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. And then if a card in your pendulum leaves the field, draw one card. That is a mandatory effect. And you can only use this effect of Electrumite once per turn. So yeah, there is the effect kind of broken. Without further ado, let's get into the combos with Electrumite, shall we? So this is going to be the deck that we're going to be using to show off the combo here. Now, technically, and I do have to say this deck was never legal in the TCG. Once we get into the history of Electrumite, you'll see why that's the case, why this deck was never technically legal. But I did want to cover it because this does show how powerful Electrumite is with this deck, but I do have to say that. So yeah, we're playing 3 Joker, 3 Double Iris, you know, Purple Poison, the Harmonizing Magician, Wisdom Eye Magician as well. Astrograph Sorcerer is in here because of how powerful this card is. Again, this probably deserves its own video on why it got banned. For some hand traps, we're playing Ash Blossom, a Ghost Org. We're playing Duelist Alliance to search out Pendulum Call or any of the other pendulums. We have Wavering Eyes, Star Pendulum Graph, a Time Pendulum Graph to get searched off of, I think Double Iris is the one that can search this. Yep. And then for the extra deck, very importantly, we are playing 2 Heavymetalfoes Electrumite here. So that is important to look at. Again, this is just a basic pendulum deck that was being played at the time. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the now on to the combo portion of the video. So this is a generic hand you can get from the deck. It's actually a pretty okay hand here. We are playing by Master Rule 4 as well, as this is in the middle of Master Rule 4. So without further ado, let's get into the combo. We'll normal summon Joker here, declare the effect to add ourselves a Double Iris Magician here. And then we'll go ahead and scale up the Double Iris and the Wisdom Eye that we drew. We'll declare the effect of Wisdom Eye and send it destroy itself to place another Magician into the Pendulum Zone there. And then we'll go ahead and do Astrograph Sorcerer's effect, since a card was destroyed by card effect here. Spell summon itself and then add another Wisdom Eye here. And then we'll go ahead and make a link to here, go into our favorite card, and the one we're covering today, Heavymetalfoes Electrumite. We'll trigger the effect on the summon here to add a pendulum monster to the extra deck here. We'll go and add ourselves a Chronograph Sorcerer. Put that there. And then we'll do Electrumite effect, popping Double Iris Magician. It actually goes to the face-up extra deck. Shows that I don't play Pendulum much. To add ourselves a Pendulum face-up Pendulum monster from our extra deck back to our hand. We'll add Sorcerer here. And we got some Chain Links here. We'll do Electrumite's effect, Chain Link 1, since it is mandatory to get the draw 1. Double Iris, Chain Link 2. And then we'll do Astrograph Sorcerer, Chain Link 3 to special summon himself out. And we'll add just another Wisdom Eye Magician because we can do that with Astrograph. Double Iris will go ahead and search ourselves the Star Pendulum Graph. And then we'll get the draw 1 off of Electrumite. Wow, and we actually drew Pendulum Call as well. That's actually pretty good. But here, we still will activate ourselves the Star Pendulum Graph here. And then we'll activate our scale up the Wisdom Eye Magician. Trigger a Wisdom Eye Magician's effect, because this is also not once per turn. So it destroys itself to place another Magician card onto the Pendulum Zone there. And we'll go ahead and do Double Iris magician here. And then we'll trigger a Star Pendulum Graph since a magician was left the field. We'll do its effect to go ahead and add a Harmonizing Magician to hand here. And then we'll go ahead and actually Pendulum Summon here. So we'll Pendulum Summon out the Harmonizing Magician. We'll Pendulum Summon out Double Iris from the... not Double Iris, my bad. Ignore that. We're not going to do that. We're going to Pendulum Summon Chronograph Sorcerer. And then we're going to Pendulum Summon another Wisdom Eye. I guess it can just be any level 4. But again, we're playing by Master Rule 4, so these need to go to the link zones there. And then we'll go ahead and do a Harmonizing Magician's effect on its special summon here, to go ahead and special summon an Oath Dragon from deck here. And then we'll go ahead and overlay Chronograph and Oath Dragon to go into our Norado, the Moral Leader. And then we'll go ahead and actually make another Link 2. We'll actually make the second Heavymetalfoes Electrumite. And then we'll trigger Electrumite's Link Summon effect because that is not once per turn. We'll go ahead and place just another Astrograph Sorcerer into the extra deck there. And then the other effect to pop a card to add another face-up Pendulum Monster from your extra deck to your hand is also, that's a soft once per turn, so you have multiple copies. You can do it multiple times. So we'll destroy Double Iris Magician and add that Chronograph Sorcerer to hand here. And now Electrumite does not chain the draw 1 because that is a hard once per turn, but we still have a Chain Link, Double Iris Chain Link 1 and then Astrograph Sorcerer Chain Link 2 here. So we'll summon out Astrograph Sorcerer and go ahead and add ourselves. We'll just add ourselves another. I don't think it really matters. We'll just go ahead and add ourselves a Double Iris Magician, and then Double Iris triggers to add ourselves a Time Pendulum Graph here. And then we'll go ahead and make a Link 2. We're doing this because we need to free up zones. We'll make a Underclock Taker here, and then we'll overlay both of the Astrograph Sorcerers here. Let me just move it under the zone there and make ourselves the Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. And then we'll go ahead and make a Link 3 here, make ourselves the Decode Talker. And then we'll go ahead and trigger Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon to special summon Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon from deck here. And as you can see, we have gained so much advantage. So we're going to set a Time Pendulum Graph, and let's just say we pass on that. I know we have Pendulum Call, so we can probably do more stuff with it as well. This is a pretty good board. We still have 5 cards in hand. We have a Spell and Trap and Negation. We have an Omni Negate, and then we have Decode Talker protecting both of those as well. And then we also have the pops with Time Pendulum Graphs during our opponent's turn as well. We just have so much advantage in our hand right now. It's absolutely just ridiculous. So yeah, without further ado, that was the combo. So without further ado, let's get into the history of Electrumite. So now the history of Heavymetalfoes Electrumite. So on February 2nd, 2018, Electrumite is released in Extreme Force. Now, what happens on the very same day Electrumite gets released? The ban list drop. What did that ban list entail? Double Iris Magician and Skull Combat Joker banned. Yeah, they preemptively hit those cards just so they didn't have to deal with it with Heavymetalfoes Electrumite. Now, those cards are good in their own right, but Electrumite kind of just sped up the process for them to get banned. That's why I say the deck that we just saw in the combos we were doing were technically never legal because, again, Double Iris and Joker were banned on the same day Electrumite got released. Now, if you want to get technical, the ban list didn't technically take effect until 3 days afterwards, so technically that deck was only legal for 3 days. But again, who the fuck was playing it in those 3 days? Again, yeah, this deck was technically just never legal, never saw play, never topped anything because, again, it wasn't there for that long. So yeah, they hit Double Iris and Joker because of Electrumite. And then in the May 2018 ban list, Astrograph Sorcerer gets banned because, again, that card not being once returned and gaining you advantage as well just was being just ridiculous. So they end up banning Astrograph Sorcerer in the May of 2018. And then September of 2018, which would be the following ban list, Electrumite gets limited. Now, it makes sense. We were playing 2 Electrumites in the combo board, and you can see why. Is because the first two effects weren't once per turn. They were soft once per turn, sure, but again, if you get multiple copies out, you can do multiple of the effects. So that's why it ends up getting limited in September of 2018. Nothing really happens afterward. We start entering like tossed format with the Sky Strikers, Orcus, Salamangreat, and stuff like that. Pendulum's there as a deck, and it does gain you advantage because of Electrumite, but it's not the best deck in the format. And then in January of 2020, Electrumite gets banned here, which is very interesting because, again, it wasn't like the top deck, but they just kind of just hit everything. They hit everything in tossed format, and then they just saw, well, Pendulum might be a problem if we hit the top 4 decks, so let's hit Pendulum too. So they hit Electrumite as well with that. So Electrumite gets banned in January of 2020. This happens before Master Rule 5 as well, because Master Rule 5 would make everything except for Pendulums and Links have to summon just anywhere on the field, but Pendulums and Links would still have to be summoned in the extra monster zone. But that kind of helps you out in a way, so you don't have to summon your XYZs and the fusions into like a heavy Electrumite Link zone. So they just end up banning it in January of 2020. So yeah, without further ado, let me give you the reason why it was banned. So why is Heavymetalfoes Electrumite banned? Well, we got 2 reasons here. One, it's very generic support for Pendulum. Every single Pendulum deck can play Heavymetalfoes Electrumite because Electrumite's requirement to go into it is only 2 Pendulum monsters. So any Pendulum deck can make Electrumite. It was just very, very generic support for those Pendulum decks. And number 2, it gives you just way too much advantage. So basically, off its own self, it gives you a +2 in advantage. Because 1, it gets you the draw 1, which is +1. And then it can add a face-up extra deck Pendulum monster back to your hand. That's technically a +2, because that kind of helps you out in a way, because you don't have to now, when you Pendulum summon, when you Pendulum summon from your hand, you don't have to go into the link zones. So if you add a Pendulum monster back to your hand, you can just basically help yourself out, make sure you don't have to summon it to the zone, so that you have the space necessary for your field. Yeah, so technically it's a +2, and then the cards it was destroying would just give you an advantage as well. So this would at least give you a +2 by itself, and then the cards it was destroying usually gave you advantage as well, like the Double Iris Magician, Astrograph as well was giving you advantage and stuff like that before that card got banned. Yeah, it just gave you way too much advantage. So yeah, that's why it ended up getting banned. Ended up getting banned because they saw it as the 4th and 5th best deck, and they're like, if we don't hit this, this is becoming a tier 1 deck. So they're like, fuck this, we're going to hit Electrumite, so they don't get a chance to happen. That didn't end up happening because Lunalights ended up still being a tier 1 deck in that format. But yeah, this just gave you way too much advantage. That's the reason why it is currently banned right now, because this card just gives you too much advantage, and it is very generic support for Pendulums as well. So without further ado though, let's get into if I think Heavymetalfoes Electrumite can come. So can Electrumite come off the ban list? Yeah, I think it can definitely come off the ban list. Pendulum isn't really doing much right now, so I think Electrumite can come back to 1. I think at 3 or 2, it's a little much, but at 1, I think it is fine. Now, this is a little risky because now Double Iris and Joker is now back in the TCG. Double Iris is at 3 and Joker is at 2. So it's going to be a little risky if you put Electrumite back, because they were scared of it. They preemptively hit those cards thanks to Electrumite, and then they put those cards off once Electrumite was off. So it's a little risky if putting Electrumite back to 1 with those cards still legal, but I still think that's fine. Even though it gives you so much advantage, if you have it at 1, it's not going to give you so much advantage. It doesn't, end up giving you like +4 or something like that. That's fine by itself. I think at 1, it's fine. It does give you advantage, but I don't know. Right now, just Pendulum, like, what other deck? It's like, every other deck kind of has a +1 to it as well. Like, I don't know. Tri-Brigade is pretty good, sets up a very good board, and Revolt gets shipped back onto the field. I just don't think Pendulum would do much even with Electrumite at 1. Now, again, this is still a little risky because Pendulum is now seeing more play thanks to Double Iris being at 3 and Joker being at 2. So it is a little risky putting Electrumite at 1, but you know what? Fuck it. If everyone's thinking, if some people are saying Colossus should be coming off the ban list, then what's the fucking point of Electrumite being on the ban list? That's my thing. I'm like, people are saying Colossus should be relimited. I'm like, if you're saying that, then Electrumite can definitely come off in that case. So yeah, I think Electrumite can come off the ban list without a doubt. And of course, a lot of people do agree with that opinion as well. But yeah, that is it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.